in New South Wales. There's been various polling that suggests in WA you could be on track to lose as many as 4 seats. There's also been polling suggesting you could be losing votes in Queensland. Is your plan essentially to focus on New South Wales and pick up seats here to counteract losses in states like WA?
I'll be all over the country and I'll be making very clear what the choice is. And the choice in Western Australia is no different to the choice in New South Wales, or up in the Northern Territory where the Deputy Prime Minister is, or down in Tasmania where the Leader of the Opposition was yesterday. It's a choice between a Liberal and Nationals team, together the Treasurer and I, working together to ensure our economy has come through stronger than pretty much all of the advanced economies in the world, with a AAA credit rating, stamped right on our budget. In addition to that, the biggest economic recovery we've seen in the last 12 months, over $100 billion, which means right now people are paying less on fuel because of the cost of living relief. I was chatting to one of the workers here today. I said, what did you fill up at? He said $1.80. Anthony Albanese said he was filling up at $2.20. He mustn't have filled up for some weeks. That's what people are actually experiencing right now, and we were able to do that because of the strong economy we've been able to manage. And the economic plan, whether it's investments in apprentices, investments in infrastructure, investments in the services that Australians rely on, investments in our manufacturing industry, in our defence industries, all of that is creating the jobs and setting up the opportunities that Australia has. We have a massive economic opportunity coming out of this pandemic. You can't risk it with a Labor Party and a Labor leader that can't manage money and has no economic plan.
Prime
Minister, you talked consistently about how Australians know you over the last 3 years. They don't appear to like you. At the last campaign, you campaigned on your own. Today, you campaigned here with Foreign Minister Maurice Payne and the Treasurer Josh Frydenberg. Is it a sign that your popularity is on the nose, that you are damaged goods across Australia?
No, well, you know, it's not a popularity test. Barnaby said this the other day. You go to the dentist, doesn't matter whether you like him or not, or like her or not, but you want to know that they're good at their job. And that's what this is about. This is about whether people are good at managing the economy and have a strong economic plan. And yeah, I've got a great team. I'm happy to showcase my team every single day. There's a choice not just between me and Anthony Albanese. There's a choice between Josh Frydenberg and his opponent. There's a choice between Peter Dutton and his opponent. There's a choice between Maurice Payne and Penny Wong. There's a choice between... No, you've had your question. Thanks for your ongoing contributions. My point is simply this. We have a very strong team, and it's a strong economic team. It's a strong national security team. And that is the team that has brought Australia through one of the most challenging periods that this country has seen since the Second World War. Now, as we come out of that, and we've set ourselves up for success, you can't risk it on an inexperienced and unproven team that doesn't have a plan for the economy and doesn't know how to manage money. Our migration program that is set out in the budget, the cap is there at 160,000. There's no change to that, and we are increasing the proportion of skills components within that.
On your team, that has obviously meant that a lot of people who are rental market currently the rate is 1.2% in Sydney. What are you doing specifically to help renters in Sydney?
There's $5.1 billion every year that is paid in Commonwealth rental assistance to 1.4 million people across the country. In addition to that, I established an agency called the National Housing Finance and Investment Corporation. Now, that is a government agency. On our initiative, I was able to get the support of all the treasurers at the time, and this agency borrows money at very, very, very low rates, which only governments can do, and it makes that funding available in loans to community housing organisations, including here in Western Sydney, so they can develop affordable housing and make that available to people right here on the ground in Western Sydney and right across the country. And it's smart financing too, because it doesn't just say that this is for you. It enables those community housing organisations to work with the private sector. And so when you see these new estates being developed, new housing estates, new high-rise and new apartments, that they can be making sure that there is affordable housing within those developments. I started this back in I think it was the 2017 budget. I know how hard it is to buy a home here in this city. I've lived pretty much my whole life here in this city. I love this city. I love being here in the centre of this city today. I know what drives it, but it can be tough and it can be really hard to buy a home. That's also why, in addition to the support we give on tax relief and income support to help people deal with costs of living pressures like rents, we also help those who want to get in and buy their first home and buy a home. 300,000 Australians we have helped into owning their own home through the Home Guarantee Program and the Home Builder Program and the National Housing Finance and Investment Corporation in just the last 3 years. Now, that's what I said I'd do before the last election. A week out from the last election, I announced that policy. I said it would get Australians into homes. And despite the fact that we have seen strong increases in house prices, we have enabled Australians to get into homes by reducing their deposit from 20% down to 5% and even further down to 2% for single parents. Now, I've met those parents who've bought their homes. They're here in Western Sydney. They're up on the central coast of New South Wales. They're over there in Western Australia and up in the suburbs of Brisbane. And I've seen the look on their kids that for the first time in their life, they've got a place they can call home. They're not getting kicked out after 6 months, seeing their schooling disrupted. That has changed their lives. I'll tell you the other thing that changes lives in this country, getting a job. You get a young person into a job in their early 20s and their risk of spending a lifetime on welfare. I learnt this as Social Services Minister. I've been around a while. You get them into a job in their early 20s, the chances of them spending a lifetime on welfare goes like that. And that's why getting Australians and keeping them in apprentices has been so important to our economic plan.
On the Solomon Islands, what are you going to do if you're re-elected to ensure that China can't establish a military base in the Solomons? Can you pledge in the next 3 years you will not allow that to happen? And potentially, Maurice Payne, could you also answer, what was the US reaction to the Solomons-China deal when you were on the ground in Brussels meeting with the Secretary of State?
Sure, I'll ask the Foreign Minister to comment. Well, you've already heard from the Prime Minister of the Solomon Islands that is not something that they would allow to occur. He's made that very clear. And we are continuing to press on the issue of rotation, possible rotation of vessels or others that might seek to go to the Solomon Islands. And that is a serious issue that we will continue to press. At the same time, we must always respect the fact that Solomon Islands are a sovereign country. They're not a state of Australia. They're not under Australia's control or direction. They are a sovereign country. And my approach to the Pacific, as the Foreign Minister will attest, has been to always respect the sovereignty of our neighbours, and particularly in the Pacific. There was a long time here where Australia used to treat the Pacific as a bit of an extension of our own country, and they didn't like that. They didn't like being treated like that, and nor should they. And I have never treated my Pacific family like that. I've always been honest with them and upfront with them, and I am in regular contact with them. And form very close friendships. And I know Manasseh Sogavare quite well. As you know, that was the first place I went after the last election. I didn't head off to any of the countries of Europe or UK or the United States or even Southeast Asia. First place I went was Solomon Islands with Jenny, and we spent time there talking through the important issues. That's why Solomon Islands are still saying their first call for their security is Australia.